Ladies and gentlemen, if you know somebody like this, hit subscribe to this channel right now. If you know somebody that acts in the following way, if you know somebody who said the following phrase, if you know someone in your life, or if you watch these types of live streams, or you read stories on the Durham probe, and you hear the words, oh my God, there's a gigantic mosquito. Oh no, I'm going to get eaten up. Okay. No, not those words. Oh my, this is like the great white sharks of mosquitoes around me. It's like unbelievable. I got my Lysol right here. But anyway, if you hear the phrase, nothing's ever going to happen, nothing's ever going to happen, oh, I'll believe it when I see it. You might also be the type of person who listened to message boards that I told you never to even look at or listen to 3 years ago. I said, don't ever listen to absurd message boards. You might be the type of person who said Jeff Sessions was fantastic. I told you he was the worst attorney general of all time. Mike Pasqua, thank you. Mike Pasqua, thank you so very much for starting it off. To my super chat, thank you. Eric, H526, Luke St. Martin, the two best moderators in all of YouTube, thank you. But ladies and gentlemen, if you know somebody, it could be even yourself, it could be you. If you know somebody who says, nothing's ever going to happen, there's a double standard, they were able to get away with utilizing a dossier purchased by Clinton and the DNC that said that Trump was in a Moscow hotel room and that Michael Cohen and General Flynn and Carter Page and Paul Manafort met with intelligence operatives without a shred of evidence. The dossier, of course, was completely baseless, but they used it anyway. And there's no way we're ever going to have any semblance of equal justice. And the Durham probe, I mean, have you ever seen John Durham, even though he actually indicted, and sent to prison a bureau official in Boston? But let's not even look at that. Let's just say, have you ever seen John Durham? Nothing's ever going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get to the Washington Examiner article below, and Mike Pasqua, thanks for starting it off, Mike. Thank you, Mike, as always. Greatly appreciate it. Hope you're having a great weekend. Thank you, Mike. To my super chat, your support helps me do these live streams, and your support is greatly, greatly appreciated. If you have any thoughts on the Durham probe, if you have any ideas or, discussion that you want to talk about pertaining to the Durham probe or any issue, that's relevant, please go ahead, let me know in the super chat. And ladies and gentlemen, number one, the most important thing you have to remember is that simply because there's been a double standard in terms of media bias, Trump has had 92% negative media coverage, and Rasmussen today came out with a poll that said he's more popular than even our beloved President Biden. Gee, I wonder why. But if you look at the world from, when you buy a mutual fund, you get you'll always read the fine print. Past performances aren't an indication of future outcomes or future performances. So you are thinking that Durham is going to be just like Jeff Sessions, but Jeff Sessions enabled a Mueller probe. Guess what? The Durham probe is a special counsel as well, just like Ken Starr and just like the Mueller probe. So John Durham is a special counsel. I read the Lawfare article. Lawfare is a very respected, and this is before we get to the Washington Examiner article and Yahoo News article below on John Durham and the public report. The report will be made public for a reason. We'll get to that in a second. But how do you solve a problem like John Durham? That is an article on December 4th, 2020, okay, written by the editor of Lawfare and a senior fellow in governance studies at the Brookings Institution. They don't like President Trump at all. The Brookings Institution, the publication Lawfare, the very renowned and esteemed gentleman who wrote this article, they don't like President Trump. They're acknowledging that Durham is a special counsel and a problem for the Democratic Party. It's a problem. Durham is a problem because he is investigating essentially political operatives. The James Comey and Clapper and Brennan and Strzok and McCabe and Kleinsmith, who was indicted, did not have the rule of law in mind. Edward Mann, go! Edward Mann, thank you so very much, Edward. I hope all is well. Thank you so very much. Edward Mann, thank you. Thank you, Edward. Edward Mann, thank you so very, very much. I hope you're having a great weekend. And thank you for tuning in, and thank you for your generosity. Thank you, Edward. Greatly appreciated. So, the Lawfare article, how do you solve a problem like John Durham? In this article, okay? Now, just today, or like late last night, the Yahoo News article on John Durham's public report came out. That's below in the description section. But here in the Lawfare article, you have Barr's order does something else too. It creates a mandate for a public report from Durham. The regulations themselves do not do this. They require only a confidential report from the special counsel to the Attorney General, explaining the special counsel or Durham's prosecution and non-prosecution decisions. But Barr goes a step further in requiring that in addition to the confidential report required by 28 CFR 600.8, the special counsel, to the maximum extent possible and consistent with the law and the policies and the practices of the Department of Justice, shall submit to the Attorney General a final report and such interim reports as deems appropriate in the form that will permit public dissemination. So, this is a unique element. And Edward, thank you again. This is a unique element, ladies and gentlemen, of the Durham probe, okay? The Mueller probe, the report was utilized. Well, the one thing William Barr did that's actually pretty good is he explained within the report the evidence was insufficient. And then Democrats, in their usual lack of, the usual inability to engage in basic logical reasoning skills, said, well, there are contacts there that need to be investigated. They didn't find any evidence of criminal activity. Not with Donald Trump Jr. in the Trump Jr. meeting. Not with anything they conjured up and fabricated. They didn't find. This is why they want a committee for Jan. This Jan. Why? Why? Because they can't indict Trump in a court of law. This is why they want to go after his CFO for allegedly accepting tuition payments. They can't go after Trump in a court of law. They cannot indict or level charges at Trump. It is impossible for Democrats or New York prosecutors or the Department of Justice or Robert Mueller or anyone to actually back up their claims in a court of law because, God forbid, you'd have to actually have evidence. Now, they've distorted and manipulated. Joanna Santos, thank you. They've distorted and manipulated the meaning of evidence. The left in general has to distort and redefine the meaning of words. If they don't, then there's Their leaps of logic make no sense anyway. But generally, their leaps of logic are bolstered or somewhat legitimized momentarily by altering semantics or deceptively taking things completely out of context. So what they'll say is, well, Mueller didn't say there was no evidence. Mueller said that he couldn't find any evidence. Yeah, so what are you trying to say? Well, Mueller said that there were improper contacts. But they weren't criminal in nature, so what's the problem? This is, if you can't indict Trump in a court of law, then any alarming or concerning element of the Mueller probe is you've admitted that it's not criminal in nature. They didn't break any laws. They got, okay, when there's this huge now push by media to say, well, Trump has so many indicted people around him. Mike Pasqua, thank you. Edward Mann, thank you. Well, the reason that there are so many indicted people is because, A, they can't get Trump directly because he didn't commit any crimes. The man did not commit any crimes. Technically, Hillary Clinton didn't commit any crimes. The difference is that James Comey stated that there was no intent to use servers intentionally for 4 years. Does that make any sense? I'm looking out for this man-eating mosquito. There are these mosquitoes in California that are like, I think Falsey and researchers modified them. These are like Island of Dr. Moreau mosquitoes. Like you see them, they're like, hey, what's up? They look at you like they're ready to just eat you apart. That's why I have my Lysol here. But I saw one on the actual laptop. And he was like, what are you going to do, huh? And then he flew. I was like, I tried to get him, but it was like too late. But anyway. They can't get him in a court of law. Okay? That's one of the reasons Durham is investigating. I wrote, there's 18 U.S. Code 371. This is a statute that very likely Clapper also, but very likely Andrew McCabe and James Comey broke. This is a fact that James Comey on CNN stated that he could testify at Andrew McCabe's trial. Okay, or a court case involving Andrew McCabe. Attorney General Loretta Lynch said that Comey's testimony under oath was a lie. James Comey stated that her testimony was not truthful. James Comey said that Attorney General Loretta Lynch told him to call the Clinton email probe a matter. This is the same type of thing as Trump allegedly telling Comey within his memos that started a special counsel, the Mueller special counsel, when James Comey said, oh my God, and we were sitting and the orange monster said, take it easy on Michael Flynn. Well, that's exactly what Attorney General Loretta Lynch is accused by Comey of having done. So James Comey said, I didn't trust the independence of the Department of Justice. So then I decided on my own to be the judge and the jury pertaining to Madam Secretary's email probe. That was a pretty overt cover-up, almost certainly. So what they did was, see, media does not level suspicion at the Democratic Party. Everything resides within plausible deniability, and everything... Laura Tibbs! Laura, thank you so very much. Laura, thank you so very much. Thank you, Laura. Laura Tibbs, thank you. Greatly appreciated. I hope all is well. Laura, thank you. What Comey did, Michael Williams! Michael! HA, thank you, Michael. I hope all is well. Hope you're having a great weekend. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you, Michael. What Comey did was engage in this public relations stunt that gave media and Democrats the ability to reside within plausible deniability. Well, you know, we couldn't find any intent to use servers for 4 years outside of the United States government that had people hired, one person, Brian Pagliano, hired specifically to run the servers, and other people specifically hired to run the servers as well, but we couldn't find any intent to transfer or to migrate or to remove top secret intelligence in some manner and SAP intel from government locations onto servers outside of the United States government. But there was no intent. We couldn't find intent, even though one of the statutes doesn't even specify you need intent. The FBI and others routinely arrest their own employees for 1/1,000,000th of the infraction that was routinely conducted on a daily basis by Madam Secretary and her team. They had top secret intelligence on private servers and classified data, information born classified, on servers outside of the United States government. If Trump had servers outside of the United States, and then they obfuscate, or they say, well, you know, Ivanka used private email, but her emails, Ivanka used private email. It's not about private email, genius. It's about servers. If you use a Gmail account in the Pentagon officials still have access, because they have access to the servers, to your account. But if you use your own servers, you alone have access to your communication. Nobody else does. Or, well, theoretically. Of course, almost certainly, the $30 billion just in terms of the budget for intel agencies that went after Trump, National Security, Brennan's agency, and the ODNI, and then James Comey's agency, they almost certainly, well, the FBI not so much, but the other intel agencies, yes, they have the ability. They do you think that they didn't know? I mean, honestly, do you think they didn't know that the Secretary of State had her own private servers and 2009 technology running outside of the United States government on mobile devices with classified data? Debbie Karen! Debbie! Thank you, Debbie. Thank you so very much, Debbie Karen. Thank you. I appreciate your support greatly. Thank you for your generosity, Debbie. I hope you're having a fantastic weekend, Debbie Karen. Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. You think that in the 2009 technology, you think that the billions upon billions of dollars, tens of billions of dollars in America's intelligence apparatus, sprawling intelligence apparatus, we didn't know that the highest diplomat in the land, okay, yeah, she got away with it. I don't even care, by the way, anymore, to tell you the truth. I don't care. She got away with it, and it's just, for me, it's like, fine. Okay? You know what? Good. For me, it's just fine. Okay? Because I look back now, and those were at least Clinton, the email story was covered by media. Now, they will actually push to suspend the emails of Biden's son. Zombie, it was just for because I'm doing the live stream, so I can't actually get up and swat it, the mosquito. So I was thinking of the Lysol. If I see this mosquito, I'll Lysol it. But anyway. So the Durham probe is pretty. Look, he already has the public record alone is enough. There's intent. Everybody, almost everyone in media, and I'm very, very impressed with Josh Rogan of the Washington Post, and he actually works also with CNN. So, I mean, this man is like, I hope that the left or Democrats or media don't cancel this man, but he is, pretty courageous. I give him a lot of respect. Josh Rogan, he was on the Daily Wire actually today, or Ben Shapiro's show. So, like, he talked about, how Falsey, could have known a lot more or inadvertently backed funding for research that eventually led to, inadvertently, by accident, unintentionally, the global catastrophe. Notice something very interesting. When they're caught with their pants down, oh my goodness, I know how that feels. When they're caught with their pants down, it's always inadvertent, unintentional, we didn't mean to, I'd take things into context, you can't prove anything, you can't catch us, you can't prove anything, you can't prove that President Biden's son has emails that are incriminating, even though one of the emails says, almost verbatim, how can you use your influence on behalf of the company? It's literally an email, and now the man is selling paintings to unknown buyers. You know what? It's in a way, they treated Hillary much more, I don't want to say unfairly, but because, she got away with it, which is fine by me now. But now you have, they were tougher on Hillary Clinton, much tougher than they are on the current president's son. Why? It's so interesting because they realized that any actual reporting leads to even greater. Any actual reporting leads to an even greater problem. Suspicion grows exponentially whenever people are able to actually discuss and debate and think about the corruption within a political party that has virtually all of media propping it up. So when you look at Trump, and I always say this, with President Trump, you have a man who's running a 4.340. He's running a 40-yard dash. Imagine Trump like in the NFL Combine. This blur of orange lightning, down the 40-yard dash. But he's running a 4.340 with a 100-pound backpack. Donald Trump runs a 4.2, 4.340 with a 100 to a 150-pound backpack. And that backpack is all of media, and all of social media, Twitter especially. And thank God. God bless India, and God bless Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He is single-handedly saving the world, well, along with President Trump, and I explained that, from a social media cyber scourge that I decided to leave 3 years ago, thank God. Twitter is a nightmarish, dystopian, cyber reality where people waste. Your moments on this planet are precious. Every breath you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you. No, every breath, every breath you take. Every second that passes is a second you'll never get back again, which is why I'm thankful you're watching this live stream. But if you have Twitter and you're into 1 to 2 hours on average, if you're into politics, on average, if you're into politics. Wasting your life arguing with people you'll never meet in your life. Arguing, this is one of the worst features of Twitter, by the way. I know we're getting away for a second from Durham, but it has to do, it all connects. It all links to one another. The dysfunction is all encompassing. GB, hello. When you argue with somebody on Twitter, it's oftentimes a no-name, faceless, account that somebody is hiding behind. Okay? These are anonymous accounts on Twitter that Twitter does virtually nothing about. And you're wasting your life arguing with somebody perhaps on the other side of the planet or on the other side of the country who will take your statement out of context. And it's only an endless. Look, there are three political factions or groups or parties within the United States of America. Three, not two, three. Two are leveled against one political party. So there is the Democratic Party. There are Republicans who despise Trump almost as much as Democrats because they've convinced themselves that Democrats would give them a fair chance in any contest, or you have conservative Republicans who dislike President Trump, and they say, well, he's deranged and his personality is horrendous, and well, those people don't realize that if there was a good Republican like Mitt Romney, a good Republican who puts his pets on top of his car like Mittens Romney, a good Republican, I quaff my hair, I drink only nutritious Yoo-hoo drinks, and I'm a good Republican, and I speak like this with my thumb, like this, like Bill Clinton and other good politicians. And if only there could be a good Republican who wouldn't be as uncouth and as boorish as Trump. Because Trump is a mean person who's a bully and he insults everybody. I mean, can't we get back to George W. Bush, who single-handedly got us into an era of never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts? But that's not as bad as Trump's tweets. Or President Obama, who turned a country in Libya into a failed state. But that's not as bad as Trump's tweets. Trump has torn at the fabric of this nation. And so there you have Republicans who actually believe that if there was a good Republican who could take my hand, Democrats, hold my hand in an honest embrace. Take my hand. I said my hand, not take my hand. They think that if they could just find somebody who was more diplomatic and, somebody who was, wasn't as divisive as Trump, that suddenly, Democrats and media and Hollywood and Twitter and everything that's been leveled against Trump, intel agencies, we would have a more functioning democracy if a good Republican took over at the helm instead of this orange extraterrestrial Trump. Let me just read you really quickly. We'll get back to Durham. This all relates to Durham. This is an opinion article. This is what how they think of Trump, and then they say, well, everything was above board. Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan. they didn't do anything that was wasn't above board. Loneliness is breaking America. Listen to this. This is hilarious. I can't stop. I read this all the time. This is by a wonderful columnist, very esteemed and knowledgeable and wonderful. Okay, so this is about Trump. This is about why people like Trump. Is about what they think of Trump. Okay. This, by the way, is the mentality also of the people who investigated Trump. Well, actually, they were probably less dramatic. They just looked at, well, if you read the tweets, they weren't actually. It's actually the same mentality, if you could believe this. This is the article. Okay. I wasn't planning on reading any of the new batch of Donald Trump books. His vampiric hold on the nation's attention. If I'm the only one who enjoys this, it's fine. His vampiric hold on the nation's attention. You decide on what you watch or read or who to pay attention to. It's not Trump's fault that morally superior apoplectic liberals had this unhealthy, virtually deranged obsession with him. Because one great thing about Trump, even though there are certain things he needs to fix, one great thing is he really doesn't care if you vote for him. He doesn't care what you think about him. He doesn't care what you think about anything. Democrats wake up at night in a cold sweat. One of the small joys of the Trump era is that it's become possible to ignore him for days at a time. Andrew Morgan! King Tut would have voted for Trump. That's right. Trump needs to campaign hard on making America fun again. Yes, Andrew Morgan, hello. I hope all is well. Andrew, thank you. Andrew, thank you so very, very much. Andrew, hope all is well. Hope you're doing well. Happy, I keep on saying happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Thank you so very much, Andrew. Thank you. So, what does this mean? His vampiric hold on the nation's attention for 5 years was nightmarish enough. You decide. If you're obsessed with Trump, that's not his problem. One of the small joys of the post-Trump era is that it's become possible to ignore him for days at a time. You could have ignored him for days at a time in 2017, 2018, 2019, last year. You decided to obsess over everything to do with... Democrats decided to obsess because they didn't have any policies. See, the Democratic Party has emotion. They don't have policies. They don't have basic logical reasoning skills. A climate change, Pavlovian response. Yes, it's an important issue. But they get a Pavlovian response. Climate change? The end of the planet? You listen to everything John Kerry says. Even though John Kerry said the most populous nation in the world and the U.S., if they went to zero emissions, it still wouldn't make a dent. But okay. we don't have a bad enough economy. Inflation isn't bad enough. Okay? And thank God Biden is abiding by Trump's negotiated withdrawal. One of the main reasons also is we have no money. We have no money anymore for prolonged military, never-ending military endeavors. So I guess that's one of the good things, from Democrats tanking gleefully the economy. I guess we're going to have to shut down every restaurant. It's science. Really? Okay. That's a fact. That is a categorical fact that these were centers of harm. But then people went to, Costco or Walmart or, Anyway, that's a whole other story. But anyway. So, you have this, Andrew, thank you again. You have this unhealthy, this unhealthy obsession with Trump. And it permeated into, that's why Durham is investigating it here. But after reading an article adapted from Frankly, We Did Win, I changed my mind and picked it up. What caught my attention wasn't his reporting or disarray on White House disarray and Trump's horrifying impulses. We had record low unemployment. We had record low black and Latino unemployment. We had wages that were increasing. We had a stock market that was at all-time highs. We had record low unemployment, and the stock market was doing well. And the wealth gap was decreasing. People without college degrees made the greatest gains. Some of the greatest gains during Trump's presidency. Okay? People were generating wealth, but we can't have that. Because of his horrible impulses. Oh, he's impulsive. His impulsiveness. His impulses led to record low unemployment, but his tweets... Oh, but his personality. It's like it's all public relations. It's all public relations. You think our beloved president has a fantastic personality? Anytime he gets upset, he starts hissing. He turns into like the personification of like this, cobra or viper. Pay them more. The whole planet's like, really? It's bizarre. Ah, yes, very charismatic, very popular person. If employees are leaving, pay them more. This is the leadership. But anyway, what caught my attention, rather I was fascinated by Bender's account of the people who followed Trump from rally to rally like authoritarian zombies. So you have to understand the way that they view Trump's supporters are these toothless, mindless zombies. These ignorant, toothless, mindless zombies. Ma, do we have anything better to do than go to see Trump? Nothing, Pa. I guess, I guess I can't control myself. Trump and his orangeness. I know, Ma. Let's go to the rally. I get this. I have this urge and impulse. I feel like I belong to something. That's what they think. That's what they think of. That's what they think of. So you'll read this. That's what they think of Trump supporters. It's like they don't realize that Trump had policies like a negotiated deal to bring Americans home that Biden is continuing, like tariffs against the most populous country in the world, like Biden is continuing, like the Abraham Accords, like his policies towards South Korea, like Biden is pretty much continuing. So tell me again how Trump is this, he does so many things that Republicans wouldn't do. Yes, that's why he's so popular. God, how difficult is this to understand? We have the most unintelligent experts on the planet. Experts say, people with knowledge say, experts say, nobody trusts them. They don't trust you. Oh, this is really horrible. False news, and Trump supporters get their views from, they don't trust you. They don't trust. This is happening. It's because people are getting bad information. You don't do a good enough job communicating your vantage point. Let's say Democrats were right about everything. They do a horrendous job, even though they can pretty much have the entire narrative within media. They simply cannot communicate that they're better than Trump. I mean, we can debate whether or not they did, but communicate this. They can't communicate anything that they want people to abide by because half the country, all over 74 million Americans, do not trust media. They don't trust the experts. They don't trust Democrats because time and again, these various individuals have proven to be either liars or deceitful or cheated Bernie Sanders or couldn't even have a functioning mayoral contest in New York, or flip-flopped on every possible issue. So, but let's just continue. Bender's description of these Trump superfans. I can't control myself. I need to go to watch the Orange Monster.
I mean, I know that Russia is controlling me, but I can't control myself. Putin, no.
This is how they, who call themselves Front Row Joes, is sympathetic but not sentimental. Oh, that's good. Bender's description of the gullible, misguided, toothless, ignorant masses. Gee, you know, you can't blame them. Their lives were so horrible. They have nothing to live for but the promises from the liar in chief. There's one Democrat, it's fantastic. There's one Democrat who speaks like this, and this person called Trump liar in chief. A despicable liar in chief. It just insult him like in a congressional setting. It's pretty hilarious. You have to enjoy it. You have to actually enjoy. Trump liar in chief, a great deceiver, a person who created everything bad and horrible that's ever happened. Russia installed him. Anyway, many were recently retired and had time on their hands and little to tie them home.
Mom, the children have gone to the big city. What do we do now? Well, Pa, there's a Trump rally. I'm so lonely. Hopefully we can go and Trump will give us meaning in our lives, Ma. Yes, let's go.
A handful never had children.
Oh, we're so lonely with no family. Maybe Trump will fill that void.
Others were estranged from their families.
Ever since I got out of San Quentin, my family doesn't want anything to do with me.
Throwing themselves into Trump's movement, they found a community and a sense of purpose. Quote, Sandra's life had become bigger with Trump.
My life is more grandiose with Trumpy.
He says of the Michigan woman who did odd jobs on the road to fund her obsession. Oh my God. Odd jobs on the road to fund her obsession.
I had to do so many debates. I had to do so many depraved things, Paul. But it was worth it. I got to go to the Trump rally. I feel so good about myself, even though what I had to do to get here wasn't so good. But that's okay. It's all for Trump.
This is how they think. Do you understand? This is how they think of. This is what they think of Trump supporters. Do you understand? This is what they think of Trump supporters. This is how they think of all of us. Do you understand? Do you understand how this is going down, ladies and gentlemen? There are many causes for the overlapping dysfunctions that make contemporary American life feel so dystopian. Contemporary American life. Let's see. Every major institution, from the Hollywood industry to politics, is pretty much run by a narrative that's promoted by the liberals or the left. So you're dissing yourself, but that's okay. That's how it goes. There are many causes for the overlapping dysfunctions that make contemporary American life feel so dystopian. But loneliness is a big one.
Oh, Paul. American contemporary life feels so dystopian. But I think loneliness is the most problematic. What do you think? I think so also. That's why I did odd things on the side to get enough money to go to see Trump. Well, that's okay. I forgive you. As long as we can go to get our seats to go see Trump, makes us feel so good.
Even before the you-know-what, Americans were becoming more isolated. As so-and-so pointed out recently in the week, oh my God, citing, lonely people are drawn to totalitarian ideologies. Look, Trump is the opposite of a totalitarian. He signed prison reform legislation, and he signed prison reform legislation. He signed prison reform legislation and removed Americans from never-ending counterinsurgency conflicts. What is so... This is a very intellectual discussion. Why do you think people were so drawn to Trump? Well, lonely people, since they're lonely, are drawn to authoritarian, despot, totalitarian tyrants like Trump. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Well, okay. Even though the intelligence agencies, they actually set him up and framed him, but whatever. He didn't work with Russia. So I have this book, by the way, that they're referencing, and Hannah Arendt makes her analysis has nothing to do with Trump at all. You would have to be completely ignorant of the history of the past 100 years to make any comparison to Trump, who, by the way, got a greater percentage of non-white voters than he did in 2016, and a greater percentage of non-white voters than any Republican in 60 years. But, these are just minor details that would completely obliterate the absurd argument. But anyway, this is the best part. We're getting to the best part. You have no idea how good this is. This is the best part. A socially healthy society would probably never have elected Trump in the first place. A socially healthy society probably wouldn't have elected Trump in the first place. Okay. As a senior fellow in polling, American wrote in 538, the share of Americans who are more socially disconnected from society is on the rise, and these voters disproportionately support Trump.
Ma, have you spoken to anyone that we've known for the past 20 years? Have you spoken to them in the past year, 2 years?
No. I feel so disconnected socially. You know what would make me feel good, Pa?
What is that, Ma?
I'm going to a Trump rally. Well, that'll make me feel real good. I had to do odd jobs, really odd.
17% of Americans, 17% as my computer reconnects, 17% of Americans said they had not a single person in their core social network. Are you talking about on the internet? They don't have a single person in their core social network, so they don't have a core social network. These socially disconnected voters were far more likely to view Trump positively and support his re-election than those with the more robust personal networks. Maybe because people with the more robust personal networks are afraid that they would lose all their friends. I lost like 6 to 7 people that I know through no fault of my own, because these people were generally fanatics who sometimes they claim to be atheists, but they were generally fanatics and zealots and ideologues who viewed my different political viewpoints as an affront against them and all of humanity. They viewed a different political viewpoint from somebody close to them as an immoral act. This is the most absurd thing you've ever heard in your life. But because they made irrational leaps of logic, they then had to legitimize their completely irrational leaps of logic by saying it is immoral. So therefore, I don't want to be associated with somebody so immoral who would like Trump. Anyway, it's not just Trumpism that feeds on isolation. Consider the message board, which has morphed into an internet message board hoax. Yeah, okay, it's not a quasi-religion. The quasi-religion is the Democratic Party. The vast majority of people who, first of all, I told everyone, don't listen to the absurd message board nonsense. But they bring that up as if it's still relevant. Even the people who used to listen to the absurd message board nonsense don't even listen to it now. Suddenly, people all over America had their social lives obliterated, and many mothers found themselves trapped in domestic isolation beyond anything imagined by Betty Friedan. So, stuck at home, they had more time to get lured into internet rabbit holes. This is great. This couldn't be further from the truth. Like they don't realize that actually, like, there are conservatives who have a legitimate vantage point to back President Trump, or there are progressives who do. There are people on like all different political spectrums who 74 million Americans is not. That's like it is literally half the electorate, almost half the electorate. And that's with 92% negative media coverage. That's with record low unemployment. That's with Trump being wrongfully accused on numerous fronts, especially working with Russia, which never happened, which was an absurd hoax in and of itself. That's a tinfoil hat theory. But here, a crude paradox of the you-know-what is that social distancing required to control it nurtured pathologies that are now prolonging it. Okay. Here, too, Arendt was prescient. Okay, Hannah Arendt has nothing to do with Trump. If you make the correlation at all, you are stating to the world you have no understanding of the crimes against humanity and the unspeakable atrocities that I can't even describe on YouTube. Here's a man who, if you want to talk about the great Hannah Arendt, here's a man who supported, more than any other president prior, the state of Israel. President Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem, recognized the Golans as Israel's, was a steadfast supporter of, a state where I had my bar mitzvah and I have family. And it's like, and the majority of Jewish people, not only in Israel, but around the world, support President Trump. The majority. You have one poll saying that he got a greater percentage of the vote of Jewish Americans this year than even in 2016. He signed an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. I wrote in the Jerusalem Post numerous articles explaining why President Trump was infinitely better, or why than Democrats, or than anything Democrats have to offer, and why Democrats demonize and vilify the only state in the world where you had people fleeing and starting this state because they fled from unspeakable atrocity that I can't even talk about. There are more similarities if you want to talk about the 1930s and 1940s Germans, there are more similarities with the Democratic Party, if you want to make those absurd leaps of logic, than with Trump. Far more similarities. Just look at the country that Democrats want to boycott. And look at boycotts 100 years ago, or close to 100 years ago. Any similarities there? So, Leslie, thank you. So, it's like, let's just go on. It's unbelievable, the lack of, the absurd leaps of logic that are utilized to justify disdain for Trump. Mark, hello. Let's continue. So, okay, towards the end of the book, Bender's, she just been at the, okay, you know what? Tell us where we need to be, drop anything. Nobody cares if they have to go to work. Nobody cares about anything. If you give people's life meaning, they'll give you everything.
My life has no meaning. Me neither, Paul. I think the only thing we need to do is give our lives to Trump. Long live Trump! Oh, Trump, save us from this changing world. Let's go to a Trump rally. Okay.
It's unbelievable. You know what the problem is? I know people who are liberal Democrats. Liberal Democrats don't know anybody who are Trump supporters, and if they do, it's suddenly, can't be your friend anymore. Can't be your friend anymore. Why? Because their social network would disown them if their social network knew that they were friends with a supporter of President Trump. So who are the ideologues and fanatics? You have zealots. You have the most virulent, fanatical ideologues. They've replaced religion. Could you imagine, like, if I was at a dinner party and I said, well, who would you vote for? Oh, Joe Biden. Oh, okay, whatever, it's fine. I wouldn't care. What would I care? I don't care what other people do. But if I was at a dinner party, it's in Los Angeles, okay, in Hollywood, or New York, or Portland, or Seattle, and somebody asked me, if I asked somebody, hey, well, if we talk about politics, who do you vote for? I voted for Joe Biden. Oh, I wouldn't care. What do I care? I don't care. Trump supporters don't care what you do, or people who vote for Trump, they don't really care at all. But if I was at a Hollywood party and somebody asked me, so what do you do? Well, I have 2 channels. One is H.A. Goodman on YouTube, and another one is H.A. Goodman's other channel. Yeah, you talk about politics? Well, I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster, according to the Huffington Post, and the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. Oh, you're a Bernie supporter? Well, actually, after they cheated Bernie Sanders and created an absurd tinfoil hat fantasy myth that Trump worked with Russia, and after record low unemployment and the fact that the Lincoln Project was embedded within the Democratic Party, and the fact that President Trump single-handedly reversed U.S. foreign policy to where he negotiated a deal to bring Americans home, which Biden is abiding by. He also implemented tariffs, which Biden has also abided by. He presided over the Abraham Accords, which Biden is also continuing. Did so many great things. Especially the economy was fantastic, and he opposed the Lincoln Project. Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld's foreign policy hawks. I voted for Trump. What? Was that? Did I hear? What did you just say? Well, I voted for Trump. You voted for who? Well, Trump. I voted for Trump. Who allowed you into this dinner party? Who is your friend? This is the person who voted for Trump. He voted for Trump. It would be the end of the dinner party. I would probably be escorted out. And it's like the true fanaticism is not on the Trump side. That's why when Kinzinger came out, he's like, oh yeah, I have a family who wrote me this letter. It's like, trust me, that letter would have been far more vicious, and you would have been canceled a long time ago if the tables were turned. If you supported Trump and you had liberal Democrats that you knew, you couldn't find the atheist. Okay, today's atheists are not really atheists. Atheists today who associate, I'm not talking about all atheists. I'm talking about atheists who are liberal Democrats. They're not really, they are religious people, but their religion is politics. Their religion is politics. Ronald, hello. That sounds awesome, Ronald, hello. Hope all is well. Have a great weekend. Their religion is politics. Do you understand? Their religion is politics. Atheists, it's fine if you're an atheist. If you're agnostic, it's great. Don't replace belief in God with belief in Clapper and Brennan and Comey and Strzok and McCabe and the Washington Post and the New York Times. That was Noam Chomsky's rebuttal to Christopher Hitchens, and I love Christopher Hitchens a lot more than I do Chomsky. Christopher Hitchens is one of the great scholars and minds and polemicists and just most charismatic writers of all time. He was amazing. But he'd be viewed as a far-right extremist. They would have tried to do a number on him, but he would be his YouTube channel would have been 3 million subs easily. Without even trying. Could you imagine Christopher Hitchens in this day and age? I mean, we have... Okay, look. You have people who are similar in a way, but they're religion is politics. Their 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 religion is politics. but not. See, he had such charisma, but see, the one thing, well, Noam Chomsky's critique of Hitchens wasn't entirely accurate, but the critique is relevant to most liberal Democrats who identify as atheists. Their religion is vote blue no matter who. Do you realize how worthless it is to listen to anyone who will always vote for one political party no matter what? Because they'll always twist themselves into a pretzel saying, well, it's just the better of the two. It's just, well, you don't want to be, you can easily start a third party, whether it's left or right, to force the dominant political party on your side of the political spectrum to do what you want. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. Exactly, Conrad, exactly. It's not rocket science. You start a third political party. If you're on the left, you want Medicare for all, you want Green New Deal legislation, you want your student loan debt taken care of, you want all of these things. These are not Democratic Party policies. They're Green Party policies. So build up the Green Party. But you want to know what happens on the left? If the second you go from Democrat to Green, all your friends treat you as if you're a Trump supporter. So all your friends will leave you whether you vote Trump, or I should say if you are in that social world. Most of your friends will leave you if you vote Green or third party, or they'll look down upon you if you don't vote at all. So the fanaticism is on the left, not the. There are people who, if Trump didn't do the things that he did, wouldn't vote Republican or for any Republican or for Trump. That's not the case with Democrats. And the vote blue no matter who, these are pundits out there, the $20 million venture capital pundits who are hypocrites. I mean, they are fighting in court a discrimination lawsuit. So they make a ton of cash. On videos. Did you see this person did something prejudiced? Oh, look how bad that person is. Look how bad that person is. Oh, yeah, you're fighting to defend yourself in court after having been accused of, doing really bad things based on prejudice and bias. And a word I can't use, starts with R. So the duplicity is unbelievable. But the vote blue no matter who people, it's like you shouldn't listen to anyone, left or right, that always says vote. Are there vote red no matter who? Yeah, there are, but not as many as the vote blue no matter who. You have the far left edgy socialists who will say vote Democrat no matter what, even though Democrats will not give them, they won't give them anything they want in terms of major legislation. They won't give them anything they want. No Medicare for all, no Green New Deal, no student loan debt taken care of, nothing they want. And then the rebuttal is, well, a third party isn't feasible. Why not? Why wouldn't a third party be feasible, at least to simply pressure the Democratic Party into... The Democrats care about losing elections or winning. They only care about losing and winning. If they know there's a viable third party, then they will have a floor vote in the House. Even AOC, who ran on all of this, all they do, she was against a vote in the House of Representatives. They have the entire American government, and they have nothing to show for it. They have nothing to show for it, except these public relations stunts and team name changes and all of these things. It's like, well, this is like public relations mostly. And they spent 4 years. The only thing they truly cared about was trying to say that Trump worked with Russia. That was a complete hoax. And then Bernie Sanders and AOC and the far-left edgy socialists and the very wealthy Democratic socialists say, well, vote Democrat because Trump is a horrible person. Meanwhile, Trump got a greater percentage of non-white voters than any Republican in 60 years, or definitely than what he got in 2016. But I have to just, you look at these articles. Here's another one. Here, this is fantastic. Oh Lord. Okay, hold on one second. Let's see if I can read this. I can't. They go. They want me to subscribe to the New York Times. Dang it. Okay, hold on one second. Let's see if I can get this. This is a great one. Okay, so. Oh, I can't get it. Anyway, there's this. Ty, hello. There's this viewpoint. Let's just bring it back to Durham, because it all relates to Durham. But there's this viewpoint that nobody will be indicted. You have to wait until 2022. I keep on telling everybody the following. You have to wait until 2022. You need political momentum.
You can't rely on Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell is not going to save you.
You can't rely on today's Republicans have not yet completely accepted that President Trump's policies, his political viewpoints, his political ideology, which, by the way, has nothing to do with how Democrats view him. See, the narcissism is when you tell a liberal Democrat, yeah, I voted for Trump, and in their minds, they process that as, you voted for him because you like all the things I despise about him? This is the warped, egotistical, narcissistic, arrogant viewpoint of many wonderful, wonderful, beautiful, morally superior liberal Democrats. If you tell them I voted for Trump, they process it as, you voted for the man that I despise for the same reasons I despise him? You voted for him because of all the things I can't stand about him? No, it's not why. That's not why. I didn't vote for President Trump because of all the absurd leaps of logic Democrats have made pertaining to him working with Russia and anything else. And then the personality issue, it's like, yeah, sometimes President Trump does go overboard, but a lot of his, like, this is one thing I never understood, and if you can explain it to me, that'd be great. I never understood why people, mainly on the left, but also on the right, or conservatives or liberals, I don't understand why they don't get that Trump's personality oftentimes is like an act or a show or part of a performance or a shtick. Like, they don't get it. They don't get it. They take him so literally on purpose. They deliberately take him literally, so this way they can remove any context of what he's saying. If they can remove any context from his words, you know, I mean, like, Biden has said worse, actually. What he told Charlemagne the God was worse than anything Trump has said. It was worse than anything Trump has said. But it's just, you know, I mean, and he said many other things that were worse as well. I mean, you know, it's like, but people, like, you know, it's 2022, ladies and gentlemen. The House of Representatives is not going to have Paul Ryan. Have you seen Paul Ryan in his workout photo? This is fantastic. The Paul Ryan workout photo is what they want back. Now, was this a spoof or was this real? Was this a spoof or was this real? Wow, 25-pound weight. Wow, he's strong. He's strong. Wow. Paul Ryan's workout. That wasn't a 40-pound dumbbell. That's a 20-pound. This is like, you know what? Cuomo's fake weights at CNN. This man was doing tricep extensions with 100 pounds. That's like impossible. Even for, the strongest people on the planet, it's impossible. 120 pounds. Just holding it like this. I don't think so. Paul Ryan posed for photos while lifting weight. And they get on Trump. This is what they want back. They want Paul Ryan's workout. Do you understand? Morgan Weaver. Morgan Weaver. 4 for your in, exactly. Morgan Weaver, thank you. Thank you to my super chat. Thank you, Morgan Weaver. Thank you so very much. Morgan and everyone here, they want Paul Ryan back. Hi, everybody. Look at my 25-pound weights that I'm curling. I'm not tweeting. I'm not insulting anyone. If you want to make disparaging remarks about me, go ahead. I'm not like Trump. I'm simply going to work out and be productive. This isn't 2012. This is New York Magazine, and this is a positive, like, even though it's kind of like, oh, what is he doing? Imagine if it was Trump. Trump poses with Kremlin. Kremlin purchased weights. He probably gave the launch codes inside the weights. There was a code. They would break the weights open and suddenly the launch codes. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to do it because of the Moscow Tower. That's what they would think. In December of last year, a time when Paul Ryan must have known that he would be on any candidate's VP shortlist, Time approached the Wisconsin congressman about posing for a series of intimate weightlifting photos. When was the last time, in recent memory, Time magazine went to Eric Trump or Donald Trump Jr.? Morgan, thank you. When was the last time that Donald Trump Jr., you want to pose for some weights? Somehow Time managed to hold off releasing them until now. In the latest issue, which probably looks took a lot of willpower because, well, look at this photo. Is this any less silly than, it's like Biden looks like he's in a low-budget boy band video. Now, so this was New York Magazine. The worst they had to say about Paul Ryan. This was right before November of 2012, when it was Romney, and so this is the state of the world. There wasn't Twitter there was Twitter. No, there wasn't Twitter. There weren't endless memes. There were Paul Ryan's workout photos would be the end of a campaign. This was like a minor, amusing little, memento. Everything is sensationalized today, ladies and gentlemen. Everything. And still, with virtually the entire American political media establishment against him. He's heroic in this regard. He's gone up against the entire American political establishment, including journalism and media. They don't care about the rule of law. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about context or nuance. They've treated Trump in a manner they would never, ever engage with Biden. And it's like 2012 was a completely different universe. You know, you have Paul Ryan, who they don't understand. I don't think they were part of Paul Ryan all pumped up for his close-up. This is Time Magazine. That's the headline, all pumped up. Wow. 25-pound weight. Wow. This is fantastic. 1 of 5. Where are the 5 photos? Oh, my God. So this is a world when Paul Ryan was runner-up in 2011 Person of the Year.
I think it's so unfair that I wasn't running up for any Person of the Year. Well, there you go. It was just too amazing.
Time named Paul Ryan runner-up. He was the runner-up to Person of the Year. Pen Ponds Plus, hello. Thank you. Paul Ryan was runner-up to Person of the Year. This is the world we lived in. Time Magazine, check this out, made Paul Ryan was the runner-up in 2011 Person of the Year. This is great. When Time named Paul Ryan as runner-up in the 2011 Person of the Year issue, many were familiar with his proposed budget, but few knew that the Wisconsin congressman stayed fit with the now best-selling P90X workout plan. Oh, that is good. Then I probably shouldn't laugh, but then there's another sentence that came. In fact, it was Ryan's fitness regime and Herculean strength on all things fiscal that inspired this workout-themed sitting for Person of the Year. One of these portraits appeared. Okay, I think Paul Ryan's been very good for P90X. So this is hilarious. This is the type of journalism, and I hate to this is kind of hilarious. We need this back. We need a world where you can have Time Magazine write amusing or flattering or enjoyable articles about Trump or about his family. You don't have to look at Donald Trump from the vantage point that he's this dystopian, nightmarish monster. You choose to do that. And even the Daily Beast, Paul Ryan's extreme workout plan. The new GOP vice presidential candidate is just as zealous about zapping body fat as he is slicing government spending. This was the Daily Beast. Could you imagine? This is a 2012 article. Could you imagine? All of American media was it was completely different. And the world was, let's put it this way, it was a much better Freedom Autopsy Report. What about open? No. I actually agree with that because there's freedom, the interpreters. You need to bring the interpreters home. Because those interpreters, risk their lives. I knew one in Los Angeles. Pretty awesome gentleman. Some of the people who did protect or support American soldiers, actually all the people who protected and supported American soldiers, I do believe that they should be, brought here. Freedom Autopsy. But the first point I agree with you on, in terms of there has to be some, there have to be some rules. You can't simply you can't simply have that. But Freedom Autopsy, thank you as always. Freedom Autopsy, thank you as always. I hope all is well. You have the Daily Beast and Time Magazine. Here, NPR. Ryan takes his workout on the road. This would never happen. This would never happen in this day and age. And by the way, if, let's say, Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney made a comeback and they took over the Republican Party, there would not be any articles about his workout plan. It would be, Paul Ryan, wants to shed fat the way he does lives. American lives. Just like he's trying to lose weight, he's trying to lose American lives from his policies. News at 10. This is NPR is now going after the Daily Wire and backing every allegation against voting reforms. Thank you, Freedom Autopsy. Thank you. This is NPR. This is hilarious. From the window of my room at the Courtyard Marriott, I can see a sliver of the Hotel Fitness Center. This morning I looked down and saw a guy with an earpiece. Secret Service. Paul Ryan had staked out a spot between the workout bench and the weights. He wore a red Wisconsin Badgers baseball cap, a green short-sleeved workout shirt, gray running shorts, and running shoes. If it was Trump, it would be like Trump sneaking in cheeseburgers and a McDonald's malted shake, spilling it all over the workout machine as he rudely interrupted a woman's, elliptical machine workout. No doubt he was meeting a foreign operative right next to the weight rack to give America's launch codes. And to ruin and take, he probably took a giant you-know-what on the Constitution on his way out when he had to go to the restroom in the locker room. And then it's just like, Mad Libs for anything Trump does that's horrible or that you could think of. The only sign was that he was part of the biggest political story in America right now. So, again, this is like, I couldn't immediately tell whether Ryan was doing P90X, the extreme workout routine. Wasn't life better without Twitter? Wasn't life better? Wasn't life better without the constant vitriol? I miss Paul Ryan's workout, even though I would never vote for him in a trillion years. I miss NPR talking about, and Time Magazine, the Daily Beast talking about Paul Ryan's workout. They would never do that nowadays. There's no semblance of objectivity. Everything's leveled against Trump, and that's why they know it's not about journalism. People know it's not about the rule of law. They know the establishment has utter contempt for Trump and wants to distort reality, oftentimes, simply to go after anyone around Trump, and definitely not go after stock trades from Democrats and establishment Republicans, just anyone around Trump. Oh, you see, he's a really bad person. Yeah, well, you don't. The mission of everyone around, most of the indictments around Trump were predicated upon a Steele dossier that was complete nonsense that was never used in court. As I ran on the treadmill, a woman in a baseball cap came up and started chatting with Ryan. Could you imagine anyone in this day and age? Well, actually, a lot of people would want to talk to President Trump. 74 million, actually. She asked for a photo and took one with her iPhone. This was before Twitter. Twitter altered... Twitter altered the way we see politics in a very negative way. Look how beautiful. Isn't this a beautiful thing? even though like Paul Ryan is like, establishment Republican who helped investigate Trump and spread the absurd tinfoil hat theory that Trump worked with Russia, which never happened. That's an absurd thing. But isn't it beautiful? Isn't it wonderful that you can have media that was objective enough or impartial enough or honest enough to say, hey, look, Paul Ryan is unique in this way because he, you have Jared Kushner involved with foreign policy achievements. There are barely any articles about him. You have Ivanka Trump, you have Donald Trump Jr., Eric Trump doing good things, involved in philanthropic endeavors. It's all like, they just the epitome of corruption according to media now. This was a time when Paul Ryan, by the way, wanted to cut government spending on social services, which would now be seen as a deliberate attempt at harming the planet or harming people. Like, this was a time when Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney were more conservative in terms of slashing government spending than Trump, much more, which is an atrocity to Democrats now. But look at the way media covered Romney and Paul Ryan. Look at the way media covered Romney and Paul Ryan. And it's pretty unbelievable. It's pretty unbelievable. You have a world now where everything is sensationalized and emotion. Like, these articles about Paul Ryan are not meant to evoke an emotional response. They're meant to simply be an example of journalism or an amusing, interesting insight into who the man is. He happens to work out, or he happened to work out. And so, isn't that interesting? And that's it. Not anything like the article was not meant to convey emotion. Now everything is meant to foment some type of suspicion, disdain, contempt for Trump. Where can you name a positive, even though we had record low unemployment, which was a fantastic thing. Even if you want to say it was President Obama's economy, still fantastic. Still fantastic. I mean, Clinton wouldn't have cut taxes. Cutting taxes, according to the Dallas Federal Reserve, was instrumental in boosting the economic growth of the country, the GDP. But then you have people like Paul Krugman at the New York Times, and they've won a Pulitzer Prize in economics, or one, certain segment of economics, and they're just always defending Democrats no matter what. If you wanna make a logical case that President Trump wasn't as good as people think he was in terms of the economy, that's fine. But you can't deny that we had a great economy. Paul Krugman's articles during Trump's, he said we would have an economic catastrophe. We're actually having that with Democrats now in charge. That's why 2022, MP, thank you. Jay, hello. That's why 2022, you're going to have, 2022, you're going to have the House of Representatives. You're going to have the House of Representatives run by Trump Republicans. Then you'll have the Durham probe with some political support. You'll have the Durham probe with some political support. I hope people understand. I mean, if you understand, if you agree with me, let me know. Doesn't it make sense for John Durham to wait until 2022 to at least, if or when he's going to indict people, to wait for political support in the House of Representatives, to wait for a Republican Party? Because the Never-Trumpers, most are going to be primaried out of existence. Political existence. Most are going to be primaried out of politics. You're going to have most out of politics. So, here, this is Business Insider. Paul Ryan's workout regimen. A guide to Paul Ryan's crazy workout regimen. Look what we've become as a country. And thank God most Americans just tune it out. G-Man, thank you. Thank God most Americans just tune it out. That's why trust in media is at an all-time low. Because when you have an agenda, when you have a specific objective that is not journalism, people understand. People know, when there are only negative stories about Trump, even people who don't like him realize, you know what, the fix is in terms of the narrative. He's not that bad. Nobody's that bad. Especially he didn't create never-ending military conflict, and his policies didn't create the economic catastrophe we face. So the disdain against Trump is primarily a reaction to his personality. That's really what it's about. John Durham, ladies and gentlemen, when people talk about John Durham, or when you think about John Durham, just think 2022. You simply cannot, ladies and gentlemen, you simply cannot expect a prosecutor, a special counsel that's given absolutely no media support. You can't simply expect indictments right away, or this major transformation, or this, you can't expect immediate indictments in a world where Durham is not going to have any support within media and virtually no support within the Republican Party. So it's like when people say, oh, nothing's ever going to happen. Nothing's ever going to happen. Mike Johnson! Support HA is a good man. Thank you so very much, Mike. Thank you so very much. I hope all is well. Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for your support. It's greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated, Mike. Ladies and gentlemen, I think this might be the last live stream I do today. So we'll go for 20 more minutes or so. Texas country, thank you. Mike Johnston, thank you so very much, Mike. Greatly, greatly appreciated, and thank you for the kind words. Thank you so much, Mike. It's you can't, I don't think you can divorce or separate the way in the manner in which media has covered Trump and Trump's personality. If you view Trump's personality in a bubble or in this kind of you know, devoid of the media onslaught. If you look at Trump's personality and you say, well, I don't like his personality, if you don't acknowledge that he's had to contend with 92% negative media coverage, you're not being fair. You're not taking things into context. Michael Williams, thank you. One for the road. Thank you so very much, Michael. Thank you. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Michael Williams, thank you. I appreciate that greatly. Mike Johnston, thank you. Michael Williams, have a great weekend. Chad Davis, Oklahoma loves HA. We love you, Chad Davis. And Chad, I've always liked, as you know, I always liked Barry Switzer, and I always liked the Oklahoma Sooners, even though I'm a USC Trojan fan, diehard Trojan fan, but I always liked the Sooners. And Chad Davis, I think I remember saying, telling everybody, if you go on YouTube, there's the Oklahoma Sooners roundtable, like it's a discussion like Brian Bosworth and Keith Jackson and all the legendary Sooners, Billy Sims. There's all of the, Barry Switzer is there, and you just go type it in. If you type in, this is so fantastic. Chad, thank you so very, very much. Oklahoma Sooners round table. Oh, yeah. It's actually Oklahoma Football Legends. Brian Bosworth Part 1. It's awesome. It's awesome. Because they go around and all these, like Brian Bosworth, everybody there, Barry Switzer, they go around and they talk about like all of these fantastic moments and how they got started, how they got recruited. It's awesome. If you go on YouTube and just type that in, say I put Oklahoma Sooners Roundtable, and then you get that and other videos. But it's actually pretty awesome. It was probably filmed maybe at the university with every Oklahoma Sooner legend you could think of. It's pretty awesome. Chad, thank you so very much as always, Chad. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. Hope you're having a great weekend. Thank you. Conrad! Mosquitoes, not crickets. Yes! I'll get them all after the live stream. Conrad Virant! Conrad Virant, thank you! Larry, thank you. Conrad, thank you so very much. Bernadette, hello. To my viewers in Australia, hello. Conrad Virant, thank you so very much, Conrad. I hope all is well. Thank you as always. Chad, thank you again. Mike Johnston, thank you. Michael, thank you. Yeah, this has been a pretty awesome live stream, everybody. I appreciate the support. We went, Eric, did we go past 5? I think we went past 500 viewers. That's pretty good. Rasmussen came out with a poll today, said Trump was more popular than our beloved president, which I think is just proof that Trump runs a 4.340 with a 100-pound backpack. A lot of this is interesting. 2/3 of voters want Congress to investigate the 3 to 4 months of endless mayhem and chaos on the streets of the country. J-Spot 51, hello. Let's see. Type in Biden. Let's see what's going on here. Great New York Post. I love the New York Post. Love the New York Post. Joe Biden's unity vow left behind. Good one. Yep. Look at there are no articles on his son. Nothing. This is why everyone knows that media is complicit, has an agenda, wants one political outcome. So therefore they don't trust, the majority of Americans either don't trust or are skeptical or suspicious of stories that only focus on Trump and that ignore stories about Biden. Type in Trump. Oh, here we go. Trump clings to false claims at Arizona rally. So he was in Arizona. So it's just always Trump's fault. It's interesting. Larry Whitaker! Larry, thank you so very much, Larry Whitaker. Keep up the good work. Ladies and gentlemen, give Larry and everybody here, Mike, Andrew, a lot of love, but Larry, thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated. I'd say go Big Red. Yes. Larry Whitaker. Larry Whitaker, thank you. Thank you so very much. I'm looking up now. Wisconsin Badgers. Larry, do you remember Barry Alvarez? He was a good coach. Remember you're talking about Larry, you are a Wisconsin Badger fan, correct? Thank you, Larry. I can't thank you enough for your generosity. And that's just really wonderful. And thank you. Thank you, Larry. Larry, thank you, as always, for watching and always for your support. Larry Whitaker, thank you so very much. I can't thank you enough. The best of Barry Alvarez, Wisconsin's run to the 1993 Rose Bowl. I knew they'd win, by the way, because they were facing my team's rival, and I knew that they would win. Oh no! That was, you know what? Yeah. They also Wisconsin went to the Rose Bowl also, and sorry, I'm thinking of '99, right? 99, 98, 99. Wisconsin also went to the Rose Bowl, right? He was a good coach, Barry Alvarez. Who agrees with me? Thank you, Larry. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Greatly appreciated. Larry Whitaker, thank you. You look now, it's like, Larry, thank you again. You look now, and every element of society has been infused with partisanship. You can't even enjoy sports. You can't, it's always like, and then the rebuttal is, well, sports has always been part of politics. No, it hasn't. There were times where it has, but generally you could watch the Academy Awards not long ago and really not even think of politics. The one thing I liked about the Wisconsin Badgers is their run game. They had, I remember Ron Dane. He was awesome. And the Oklahoma Sooners, I love the option. Barry Switzer's teams, Jamel Holloway, and then Brian Bosworth. I remember he was awesome. And then Barry Switzer is he's a fantastic coach, and he's awesome. There's something about him I really like. And then he won the Super Bowl with Dallas. one of the few coaches, Jimmy Johnson too, one of the few coaches to Pete Carroll to win the national title and the Super Bowl. But I always liked Larry Whitaker! Larry Whitaker! My goodness! Larry, Jesus loves you, and so does Oklahoma. Thank you so very much. That's right. You know what's wrong with me? Big Red is Oklahoma. Larry, I'm like, Larry, you a Wisconsin fan? Big Red is Oklahoma. My goodness, Larry Whitaker, thank you so very much. I can't thank you enough, Larry. I can't thank you enough. That's right. Big Red is Oklahoma Sooners. I love teams with tradition. You know, even like, you know, Notre Dame is a rival, but Notre Dame has great tradition. Larry Whitaker, I can't thank you enough. I cannot thank you enough, Larry. Thank you so very much. My admiration for the Sooners and Barry Switzer has been, has worked out for me. Thank you so very much, Larry. Jesus loves you, and so does Oklahoma. Thank you so very much. And I love Oklahoma. Thank you, Larry. I can't thank you enough, really. Thank you so very much. I can't thank you enough. Thank you so very much, Larry. Greatly, greatly appreciated. Now Chad and Larry, I'm trying to look at, okay, what Oklahoma Sooner news? Oklahoma Sooners news. Okay, let's go. OU to the SEC? What? Oklahoma's gamble will pay off on the recruiting trail. Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. So wait, let's see. Texas A&M took advantage of this when the Aggies moved to the SEC. Now Oklahoma Sooners are positioning themselves for a similar renaissance. Is that correct? They're moving to the SEC? Thank you. OU to the SEC. Why the move was the only path forward for the Sooners. Interesting. Larry, Chad, what do you think about that? Ronald Foose, thank you. Larry, I can't thank you enough. Larry. It's so kind of you. So kind of you. And like I said, I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding. So I rely on my super chat, to just, help support my work, my channel, my writing, my thoughts, and I just thank you so much. Larry and Chad, everybody here, what do you think of the Oklahoma Sooners going to the SEC? That's interesting. Let's see, why did that happen? Why the move was the only path forward for the Sooners. Fans may not be 100% on board at first, but Oklahoma to the SEC makes all the sense in the world. Oklahoma is headed to the SEC. That's interesting. Why would that happen? I wonder what Barry Switzer and Bosworth and Jamel Holloway and Keith Jackson and Billy Sims think about that. Interesting. Texas and Oklahoma are leaving the Big 12. Texas too? Why would that happen? Soon it's going to be the Big 4 or the Big 3. Why would that happen? That's interesting. Ronald Foose! Thank you. You know what? It's actually really good. Ronald, thank you so very much. I hope all is well. Thank you so very much, Ronald. Thank you, as always, for your support and your kind words. Texas, Oklahoma expected to declare intent to leave Big 12 in 24 to 48 hours with SEC as landing spot. Wow. That's really interesting. then who would take their place? Texas and Oklahoma are expected to declare their intention to leave the Big 12 as soon as 24 to 48 hours. A prominent Big 12 source told CBS the Longhorns and Sooners are set to inform the Big 12 on Monday that they will not be renewing their grant of rights agreement within the conference. Wow. If the programs were to each would owe up to $80 million. If the programs were to effort an SEC debut in 2022, each would owe up to $80 million to the Big 12 as a penalty for leaving. A penalty? Wow. Well, then they'll make more money, I guess, in the SEC. Wow. Texas and Oklahoma are the most prominent original members of the reformed Big 12, which emerged in 1996 as the former Big 8 added. It used to be the Big 10. No, that's a different. Added teams from the defunct Southwest Conference. However, the Big 12 was reduced to 10 teams during the last round of realignment a decade ago. It could put the Big 12 on the brink of collapse. Wow. Larry Whitaker, thank you. I can't thank you enough. Chad, Ronald, everybody here. I can't thank you enough, Larry. Thank you so very much. Noto! New rules under NIL causing lots of changes. HA Rocks support the channel. Thank you, Noto. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. Wow. Noto, thank you. Yeah, there's so many That's right, the compensation. So, Larry, Chad, Noto, Ronald, everybody here. So, who's left in the Big 12 now? Let's look at this. Chad, Larry, everybody here. So who's left in the Big 12? Let's look. The conference championship will be, there's Baylor, Iowa State, University of Kansas, Kansas State. So Oklahoma's leaving. Oh, there's Oklahoma State still there. TCU. Texas is leaving. Texas Tech and West Virginia. So I would say, I don't know who historically. That actually would be so without Oklahoma and Texas, you have, who was going to win that conference? That's interesting, really interesting. Noto, thank you. Larry, thank you. Ronald, thank you. Well, that's true, Conrad, that's true. Without those two teams, without Texas and Oklahoma, it would be like SC and Oregon leaving the Pac-12. I was going to say UCLA, but that's interesting. Wow. Yeah, it's what I find bizarre also is Notre Dame possibly joining a conference. What is it? I find that I don't think Notre Dame should do that. I'm a Trojan fan, so I'm a rival, but I don't. If I'm a Notre Dame fan, I want to stay independent. Brando, what's the $3 version for your latest thought of the night? Late again, walked in on the sports wrap up. I guess exact $3. Okay, so Brando, great profile. We gotta wait till 2022 for the House, for Trump Republicans to take over the House, for Durham to have political backing and momentum. The indictments or prosecutions are pretty obvious in terms of the public record. Durham's report has to be public, which is an interesting revelation that we already knew, but it's in the news again, and that people have to wait and not just give up hope. There's no reason to give up hope at all. Brando, thank you so very, very much. So any prosecutions or indictments will and possibly happen or will happen around 2022, which is around the corner. Nodo, thank you. Larry, Chad, thank you. Larry, again, thank you so much. So if I'm Notre Dame, I would not want to join any conference. That's just my thoughts. I wouldn't want to join a conference. It's actually, it might not be as lucrative. I don't know. There's something to be said about being an independent school like Notre Dame, just because the history allows you to be independent. Not most schools couldn't do that. I don't know. HK, hello. Ladies and gentlemen, at the risk of turning into H.A. Goodman Sports Hour, I'm going to head on out in about a minute. I have to thank Larry again. I can't thank you again, Larry. Thank you so very much. Greatly appreciated. And go Sooners. Chad, thank you. Conrad, Noto, Brando, everybody here. Eric, give Eric a lot of love. David, hello. Ronald, give Eric H526 a lot of love. I don't know if Luke was able to be here tonight, but MP, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. Thank you so very much. Ha! Miss Fun and Games, hello. Gigi, hello. Brando, thank you again. Noto, Larry, I can't thank you enough. Everybody, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you, Larry. Thank you again. And if anyone says, Durham, nothing's ever going to happen with Durham, just remember that if you buy a mutual fund, past performance isn't, future performance isn't predicated on past performance, or past performance is not guaranteed to repeat in the future. Times will change. Media will eventually revert back somewhat, hopefully, to how it used to be prior to 2016. You'll have more momentum for people who set up and framed Trump to be held accountable legally. Give me your thoughts below. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe to my super chat. I can't thank you enough. Eric, thank you again. And Luke, thank you. I'll see you. I'll have an upload